The cargo vessel Meridian drifted through the checkpoint like 1,000 other ships that passed through Zanari space each day. Its hull was scratched and worn, showing the marks of a ship that had seen better years. Inside the cramped bridge, Commander Elena Vasquez sat in the captain's chair, her fingers dancing across the controls with practiced ease. To anyone watching, she was just another human freight captain, running supplies between the limited colonies her species was allowed to maintain. But Elena was so much more than that. The Zanari inspection drone circled her ship, its crystalline sensors probing every inch of the hull. Elena kept her breathing steady, her heart rate controlled. 300 years of Galactic Council rule had taught humanity many things, and the most important lesson was this: never let them see your true strength. Meridian, you are cleared for departure. The mechanical voice of the Zanari station crackled through her speakers. Proceed to jump gate 7. Acknowledged, Elena replied, her voice carrying just the right amount of tired resignation. She guided her ship toward the massive jump gate, a ring of exotic matter that allowed faster-than-light travel. The Council controlled every single gate in known space, and they made sure humanity knew it. As the Meridian jumped to faster-than-light speed, Elena allowed herself a small smile. Beneath her cargo hold, hidden behind layers of shielding that the Zanari scanners couldn't penetrate, a quantum entanglement relay hummed to life. Data flowed through it instantly, traveling to a location the Council didn't even know existed: the Tartarus Cluster, humanity's greatest secret. 700 light-years away, in a region of space marked as uninhabitable on every galactic chart, that data arrived at a massive monitoring station. The station itself was built into an asteroid, invisible to any passing ship. Lieutenant Marcus Chen reviewed the incoming information, his eyes widening as he read the fleet movements Elena had intercepted. "Sir, you need to see this," Marcus called out to his superior. Admiral James Okonkwo crossed the operations center in 3 long strides. He was a tall man, his dark skin marked with the scars of Earth's last attempted rebellion against the Council 50 years ago. That rebellion had failed, crushed under the superior firepower of the elder species, but it had taught humanity another valuable lesson: never fight a battle you can't win. So instead, they had prepared. "The Kresh are moving fleet assets toward New Sarajevo," Marcus reported. 3 battle groups, maybe more. Okonkwo's jaw tightened. New Sarajevo was one of humanity's 12 permitted colonies, home to 30 million souls. The Kresh Dominion had been eyeing it for years, claiming the system's resources were wasted on primitives. "How long until they arrive?" Okonkwo asked. 72 hours, sir." The admiral turned to look out the viewport, though there was nothing to see but the blackness of space and distant stars. But he wasn't looking at the stars. He was looking at what hung in the darkness beyond the monitoring station. 3 shapes, each one the size of a small moon, hung in perfect formation. They didn't reflect light like normal objects. Instead, they seemed to absorb it, creating holes in the star field. These were the Titans: Prometheus, Defiance, and Reckoning. For 200 years, humanity had worked in absolute secrecy. Generation ships launched from Earth when no one was watching, carrying millions to the galactic fringe. In the Tartarus Cluster, far from any jump gate or Council patrol, humans had built a civilization the galaxy didn't know existed. A civilization with one purpose: to ensure humanity would never kneel again. The Titans were the crown jewels of that effort. They had started as dwarf planets, unremarkable rocks orbiting a dead star. Human engineers had hollowed them out over decades, installing drives, weapons, and life support systems. Each one could house 1 billion people in its vast interior cities. Each one carried enough firepower to sterilize a planet, and the Council had no idea they existed. "Alert all 3 Titans," Okonkwo ordered. "Begin pre-activation sequences, and get me a secure line to Earth." On Earth, in a bunker beneath the ruins of Old Geneva, the Emergency Council met in secret. They were the true government of humanity, hidden behind the puppet administration that dealt with the Galactic Council. President Sarah Chen, no relation to Marcus, received Okonkwo's report with a heavy heart. 30 million people, she said quietly. "We can't just abandon them." "We won't," replied General Thomas Yates, head of Earth's official military. "But we need to be smart about this. If we reveal the Titans now, we lose the element of surprise. "The Kresh are testing us," said Dr. Amara Okafor, humanity's chief scientist and one of the Titan Project's creators. "They want to see if we'll fight. If we don't respond at all, the Council will think we're completely broken. But if we respond with the Titans immediately, we show our hand too early." Sarah looked at each member of the Council. "What do you recommend?" Yates leaned forward. "We send our conventional fleet. Everything we've got that the Council knows about. We make them think we're throwing everything at this in desperation." "They'll be slaughtered," Sarah said. "Maybe not," Yates replied. "Admiral Chen is cunning. She knows how to make the Kresh pay for every meter of space. And while they're focused on our desperate defense, the Titans can move into position." "How long would the Titans need to reach New Sarajevo?" Sarah asked. Dr. Okafor pulled up a holographic star chart. 6 months using the fold drives. "We've never tested them at full power, so there's risk involved, but they'll arrive invisible to sensors until they drop out of fold space." Sarah made her decision. "Do it. Alert Admiral Chen to prepare the fleet, and Admiral Okonkwo begin the Titan deployment. But James," she added, using his first name, "you understand what this means? Once we start this, there's no going back. We're committing to war with the entire Galactic Council." Through the quantum link, Okonkwo's voice came back steady and certain. "Madam President, we committed to this war 200 years ago when we decided we'd rather die free than live as slaves. We're just finally strong enough to fight it." Back on the Meridian, Elena completed another supply run, this one to a mining outpost in Council space. She played her role perfectly, complaining about fuel costs and shipping regulations like any other independent captain would. But her mind was elsewhere. She had received coded orders. The kind of orders she'd trained for but hoped would never come. She was to gather intelligence on Zanari defensive positions, even if it meant exposing herself. The war was beginning, and every piece of information could save human lives. 3 days later, Elena found herself floating in space near a Zanari surveillance station. She wore an advanced stealth suit, invisible to their sensors, and carried tools that could splice into their network. Her mission was simple: plant a virus that would disable their early warning systems when the time came. The work took hours. The Zanari systems were sophisticated, crystalline computers that processed information in ways human minds struggled to understand. But Elena was patient, finding the weakness in their protocols, sliding her virus into place like a knife between ribs. She was almost done when the alarm sounded. Intruder detected. Section 7 Alpha. Elena's blood ran cold. She had tripped some backup systems she hadn't detected. Zanari security forces would arrive in minutes, and her stealth suit was already flickering, its power nearly exhausted. She made a choice. She activated her virus early, sending every piece of data she'd collected back to the Meridian on a tight beam transmission. Then she ran. She almost made it. The Zanari guards caught her just as she reached her hidden shuttle. Crystal weapons fired, and Elena felt agony explode through her shoulder as the energy blast struck home. She collapsed, her stealth suit failing completely. Through blurring vision, she saw the Zanari captain approach. Its crystalline body refracted light in 1,000 colors, beautiful and terrible. It spoke in the harmonious tones of its species, translated by her implant. A human spy. "How primitive. Did you really think your simple deceptions would work against us?" Elena said nothing. She had been trained for this. The Zanari would interrogate her, possibly torture her, but she would reveal nothing. The Titans were too important. The Zanari guards dragged her to their ship. As they threw her into a cell, she caught a glimpse through a viewport of the vast Zanari fleet assembling. Hundreds of ships, their crystalline hulls glittering like deadly jewels. They were preparing for something big. In her cell, Elena touched the hidden implant at the base of her skull. It was her final backup, a quantum communicator that could send one last burst transmission. She activated it, sending a simple message. "Major fleet movement. Zanari preparing for action. Position compromised." The message would reach the Tartarus cluster instantly. It would reach Admiral Okonkwo, and it would ensure that even if she died here, humanity would be ready. Far away on the Titan called Prometheus, Admiral Okonkwo received Elena's message. He stood on the bridge, a vast chamber carved from the heart of the dwarf planet. Around him, thousands of crew members worked at their stations. They had trained their entire lives for this moment. "All stations begin activation sequence," Okonkwo ordered. "Prepare for fold space jump in 72 hours. The Prometheus responded to his command. Deep in its core, Reactors that had slumbered for years roared to life. The gravity drives, technology that humanity had pieced together from ancient ruins found in the Tartarus cluster, began to spin up. Space itself started to bend around the massive vessel. On Defiance and Reckoning, the same process began. The three titans, humanity's hidden strength, prepared to reveal themselves to a galaxy that thought it knew everything about the primitive species from Earth. But in her cell, Elena didn't know any of this. She only knew pain as the Zanari began their interrogation. They wanted to know about human spy networks, human technology, human plans. They never thought to ask the right question. They never asked, what else are the humans hiding? As consciousness faded under another wave of crystal-induced agony, Elena's last thought was a prayer. Not for herself, but for the 30 million souls on New Sarajevo. She prayed that humanity's gamble would work, that 200 years of secret preparation would be enough, that when the galaxy finally saw what humans had built in the darkness, it would be too late to stop them. The pieces were in motion now. The Kresh fleet moved toward New Sarajevo. Earth's conventional forces prepared for a battle they might not survive. The Titans charged their drives for a jump across hundreds of light years. And in Zanari custody, Elena Vasquez held onto her secrets with all the strength she had left. The deception was nearly over. Soon the galaxy would learn the truth about humanity, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Kresh Armada arrived at New Sarajevo like a plague of locusts descending on a harvest. 300 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system, their insectoid hulls gleaming in the light of the local star. On the colony below, 30 million humans looked up at their sky and knew that everything was about to change. Governor Robert Martinez stood in the planetary command center, watching the displays with a sick feeling in his stomach. He had received classified warnings from Earth 3 days ago, but there was nothing he could do. New Sarajevo had minimal defenses, just enough to fight off pirates. Against the Kresh Dominion, they were helpless. Incoming transmission from the Kresh flagship. His communications officer reported. "Put it through," Martinez said, though he already knew what was coming. The face that appeared on screen was nightmarish. The Kresh were hive-minded insects, each individual connected to a vast collective consciousness. Their commander had compound eyes that reflected 1,000 images, and mandibles that clicked as it spoke. Human colony of New Sarajevo, you are hereby notified that this system has been claimed by the Kresh Dominion. All human presence here is illegal. You have 12 hours to surrender your facilities and prepare for relocation. This is a sovereign human colony, recognized by the Galactic Council, Martinez protested. You have no legal claim here. The Kresh commander's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. We have filed the proper documentation with the Council. This system was marked as abandoned territory due to insufficient development. Your presence here violates galactic settlement law. Abandoned. 30 million people live here. Correction. 30 million future laborers of the Dominion live here. Be grateful we are offering relocation rather than extermination. You have 12 hours. Resistance will be met with appropriate force. The transmission cut out. Martinez slumped in his chair, feeling the weight of millions of lives on his shoulders. He knew what relocation meant in Kresh terms. Slavery. His people would be divided among Kresh hive ships, worked until they died, their children raised to serve the Dominion. Sir, what do we do? His second-in-command asked. Martinez straightened his shoulders. We contact Earth, and we prepare to evacuate as many civilians as possible. Focus on getting the children out first. On Earth, the news of the Kresh invasion hit like a bomb. The puppet government that dealt with the Galactic Council immediately filed protests, demanding an emergency session. The real government, hidden in their bunkers, prepared for war. President Sarah Chen addressed the Emergency Council with fire in her eyes. The Kresh have made their move. Now we make ours. General Yates, is the fleet ready? Yes, Madam President. Admiral Chen has 147 warships ready to deploy. It's everything we have that the Council knows about. And the Titans? Admiral Okonkwo's voice came through the quantum link from Prometheus. Full drives are at 90% charge. We can jump in 60 hours. But Madam President, once we reveal ourselves, the entire Council will turn against us. Are we certain about this? Sarah looked around the table at the faces of humanity's true leaders. She saw fear there, yes, but also determination. The Kresh have forced our hand. If we don't respond, Every species in the galaxy will know they can take our colonies without consequence. We'll be extinct within a generation. At least this way we fight on our terms. She turned back to the communicator. Admiral Okonkwo, proceed with the Titan deployment. General Yates, send the fleet to New Sarajevo. And someone get me a connection to the Galactic Council. It's time for our puppet government to make some noise. The emergency council session was a disaster for humanity, exactly as expected. The council chamber was a vast sphere, with each species representative floating in their designated zone. The human ambassador, a career diplomat named David Torres, pleaded humanity's case before representatives who barely bothered to hide their contempt. The creche action is illegal, Torres argued. New Sarajevo is a registered human colony. The settlement laws are clear. The creche representative clicked its mandibles. The settlement laws require proper development within 2 standard centuries. The humans have failed to meet minimum development quotas. The system reverts to unclaimed status. That's a technicality and you know it. Torres shot back. Technicalities are the foundation of law, intoned the Velcora representative, an ancient being that looked like living stone. The creche claim appears valid. The Zanari representative, a crystalline entity that shimmered with inner light, added its voice. Furthermore, humanity's aggressive expansion must be curtailed. They breed too quickly, consume too many resources. Perhaps this is an opportunity to teach them the proper place of younger species in galactic society. Torres felt rage building in his chest, but he kept his voice level. And what is that proper place, slavery? The creche will work these people to death. The creche labor integration program is recognized by the council, the Velcora said. It is harsh but legal. Humanity agreed to council law when they joined galactic society. The vote was called. 8 species voted to recognize the creche claim. Only 2 voted against, the Velcora Senator Thraxis, who had always been sympathetic to humanity, and the small Pixari delegation, who had little power but remembered when they too had been bullied by elder species. Torres played his role perfectly, showing fury and despair. This is genocide with paperwork. The human government will never accept this. Then perhaps the human government needs to learn acceptance, the Zanari representative said coldly. The council's decision is final. As Torres stormed out of the chamber, he allowed himself a small smile. The council thought they had won. They had no idea what was coming. On New Sarajevo, Governor Martinez received Earth's orders. They were simple. Evacuate as many civilians as possible, but make it look like desperate chaos. The fleet was coming, but it would be outnumbered. Earth needed the galaxy to see humanity as the underdog, fighting with courage but doomed to fail. The next 12 hours were agony. Civilian ships fled the planet by the thousands, stuffed beyond capacity with refugees. The creche watched with amusement, making no move to stop them. Why would they? There was nowhere for humans to run that the council didn't control. When the deadline expired, creche landing craft descended on New Sarajevo like a swarm. They met no resistance from the skeleton defense force left behind. Martinez had ordered his soldiers to stand down. There would be no heroic last stand here. That would come later. The creche commander broadcast his triumph across the colony. This world now serves the Dominion. All remaining humans will report for labor assignment. Resistance is futile, but resistance was exactly what the creche were about to face. Admiral Keiko Chen stood on the bridge of the battleship Indomitable, humanity's flagship. Around her, 146 other warships prepared for battle. She was a small woman, barely 5 feet tall, but her crew would follow her into hell if she asked. All ships prepare to jump, she ordered. We're going to New Sarajevo. Her second-in-command, Captain Frank Morrison, looked at the tactical display with concern. Admiral, the creche have 300 warships. We're outnumbered 2 to 1. I can count, Frank, Chen replied with a tight smile. But we're not trying to win this battle. We're trying to send a message. What message is that, sir? That humanity doesn't surrender. Not anymore. The human fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, heading for New Sarajevo. They would arrive in 18 hours. The creche, confident in their overwhelming numbers, didn't even bother to intercept them. Meanwhile, in Zanari custody, Elena Vasquez hung in her cell, her body broken but her mind still sharp. The Zanari had been interrogating her for days, using their crystal technology to inflict pain without leaving lasting damage. They wanted to know everything about human intelligence operations. Elena had told them nothing. She had endured torture training, had prepared her mind for this. But the Zanari were patient. They had time, they thought. Through her cell's viewport, she could see Zanari warships gathering. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. The crystalline vessels were beautiful in a terrible way, each one a work of art and a weapon of destruction. A Zanari officer entered her cell, its crystalline body refracting the light into rainbows. "Human," it said, "your stubbornness is admirable but pointless. We have broken your encryption. We know about your spy network." Elena said nothing. "We know your people are sending their pathetic fleet to New Sarajevo. It will be destroyed, and then the Council will make an example of Earth itself. Your species' time in the galaxy is ending." Still, Elena remained silent. The Zanari leaned closer. "You will watch. We are taking you to the battle. You will see your fleet burn, and then we will take you to Earth to watch your homeworld die. Only then will we grant you the mercy of death." Elena met the alien's multifaceted eyes. "You're making a mistake," she said quietly. "Oh, and what mistake is that? You think you know everything about us. You don't know anything." The Zanari made a sound like wind chimes, its version of laughter. "We have studied your species for 3 centuries. We know your technology, your tactics, your limitations. What could you possibly hide from us?" Elena smiled through her pain. "You'll find out." The human fleet arrived at New Sarajevo to find the creche waiting for them. 300 insectoid warships formed a battle line that stretched across space. Behind them, the colony world hung like a prize they had already won. Admiral Chen stood calmly on her bridge as her tactical officer called out the odds. 300 creche warships, confirmed. We're reading heavy plasma cannons, missile batteries, and boarding craft. Admiral, we can't win this. No, Chen agreed. But we can make them pay. All ships, battle formation Delta 7. Prepare to engage. The human fleet moved into position, smaller ships forming a defensive screen around the larger battleships. It was a standard formation, something any species in the galaxy would recognize. The creche commander broadcast a message. "Human fleet, withdraw immediately or be destroyed. This system belongs to the Dominion." Chen's response was simple. "Come and take it." The creche attacked with overwhelming force, expecting the human fleet to crumble. What they got instead was a nightmare. The human ships fought with a ferocity the creche had never encountered. They used tactics that violated every convention of civilized warfare. Kamikaze drones, AI-guided missiles that learned and adapted, weapons that targeted life support instead of shields. The humans fought dirty, fought mean, fought like every battle was their last, and they coordinated with inhuman precision. The creche couldn't intercept their communications because the humans used quantum encryption, a technology supposedly beyond their reach. Every ship moved like part of a single organism, anticipating each other's actions perfectly. In the first hour of battle, the creche lost 90 ships. The humans lost 20. The creche commander couldn't believe it. How is this possible? They're primitives, but the humans weren't primitives. They were cornered animals with nothing to lose and everything to prove. And they had spent 3 centuries preparing for this moment. Admiral Chen watched her tactical display with grim satisfaction. "Target their command ship. All battleships full broadside." The human battleships concentrated their fire on the creche flagship. The insectoid vessel's shields failed under the withering assault, and then its hull began to tear apart. "They're breaking," Chen's tactical officer shouted. "The creche are retreating." And they were. The creche, facing losses they had never imagined possible, turned and fled. Out of 300 ships, only 200 survived to jump to faster-than-light speed. Chen's bridge erupted in cheers, but the admiral remained focused. Damage report. 47 ships lost or critically damaged. The rest are operational but hurt. It was a terrible price, but they had won. Against impossible odds, humanity had won. But even as her crew celebrated, Chen knew the truth. This was just the opening move. The creche would report to the Council, and the Council would respond with overwhelming force. Earth had maybe weeks before the full might of galactic civilization descended on them. "Send a message to Earth," Chen ordered. "Tell them we've bought them time. And someone free New Sarajevo. Those people have earned their liberty." As human Marines landed on New Sarajevo to liberate the colony, Elena watched from her cell aboard the Zanari flagship. Even through the pain of her injuries, she felt pride. Humanity had struck back. The galaxy would remember this day. But the Zanari officer who had interrogated her entered her cell, and its harmonious voice held a new note. Fury. Your fleet has won a battle, but the Council is assembling an armada, 700 ships human, the largest fleet in 10,000 years. They will scour your species from the galaxy. Elena looked at the alien with defiant eyes. Then we'll make you regret it. With what? Your pathetic fleet is broken. Earth has no defenders. You have nothing left. Elena's smile was cold and certain. Keep thinking that. Deep in the Tartarus cluster, Admiral Okonkwo received the news of the victory at New Sarajevo. Around him, the bridge of Prometheus hummed with activity as the fold drives reached full charge. All systems ready, sir, his operations officer reported. We can jump on your command. Okonkwo looked at the holographic display showing the 3 Titans in perfect formation. 200 years of preparation had led to this moment. He thought of Elena, captured by the Zanari. He thought of the 30 million souls on New Sarajevo who had been hours from slavery. He thought of every human who had lived under the Council's thumb for 3 centuries. All ships, he said, his voice carrying to every crew member on all 3 Titans. Initiate fold space jump. Destination, Sol system. It's time to bring our people home. The 3 massive vessels, each one the size of a small moon, began to shimmer as their drives bent reality itself. Space folded around them and they slipped into a dimension where distance meant nothing. The Titans were coming, and the galaxy had no idea what was about to hit them. The Galactic Council chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives from a dozen species shouted over each other, their translation devices creating a cacophony of anger and disbelief. At the center of it all, holographic displays showed the impossible. The Kresh Dominion had lost nearly a third of its fleet to the primitive humans. The Zanari representative demanded silence with a pulse of harmonic sound that cut through the noise. Order, we must have order. The Kresh representative, a different individual than before since the previous commander had died in the battle, clicked its mandibles in distress. The humans used weapons that violate Council conventions. They deployed AI weapons, kamikaze drones, tactics designed to maximize casualties. They fought like animals, agreed the Arcani representative, a floating jellyfish-like creature. Without honor, without restraint. Senator Thraxis of the Velcora, the ancient stone-like being, spoke in his grinding voice. They fought like a species facing extinction, which is precisely what we offered them. They must be punished. The Kresh representative shrieked. They must be made an example. The Zanari representative's crystalline body pulsed with cold light. Agreed, this cannot stand. If the humans are allowed to defy the Council, every primitive species will think they can do the same. The Council proposes a united response. What kind of response? Asked the Pixari delegate, one of the few species that had voted against the Kresh claim. Complete military action, the Zanari stated. We assemble the largest fleet in Council history. We remove the human threat permanently. Thraxis stood, his massive stone body grinding as it moved. You speak of genocide. We speak of necessity, the Zanari replied. The humans have proven they cannot be trusted to exist within civilized society. They are too aggressive, too unpredictable, too dangerous. Better to end this now than to face a larger threat later. The vote was called. Every species except the Velcora and the Pixari voted for military action. The Council Armada would be assembled, 700 warships representing the combined might of galactic civilization. Earth would burn. And humanity would be erased from the stars. On Earth, President Sarah Chen received the news with a heavy heart. She stood in the command bunker beneath Geneva, surrounded by the Emergency Council and military leaders. The holographic display showed the Council fleet assembling, a gathering of ships that represented more firepower than humanity had ever faced. 700 ships, General Yates said quietly. Everything we have left couldn't scratch them. How long until they reach Earth? Sarah asked. 3 weeks, maybe less if they push their engines. And the Titans? Admiral Okonkwo's voice came through the quantum link. We're in fold space now, Madam President. ETA to Sol system is 19 days. We'll arrive before the Council fleet, but not by much. Sarah looked at Dr. Okafor. Are the Titans ready for this? We've never tested them in real combat. The scientist's face was grim. The weapons work. The drives work. The shields work. But against 700 warships? I honestly don't know if 3 Titans will be enough. They'll have to be, Sarah said, because it's all we've got. She activated the planetary broadcast system. In seconds, her face appeared on every screen across Earth and its colonies. 8 billion people stopped what they were doing to listen to their president. "People of Earth," she began, "I will not lie to you. The Galactic Council has declared war on our species. A fleet of 700 warships is coming to destroy our homeworld. Our military has fought bravely, has won victories we never thought possible, but we are outnumbered and outgunned." She paused, letting the weight of those words sink in. "I am ordering the evacuation of Earth's surface. Every civilian will move to the underground shelters. We have prepared for this day. The shelters can sustain our population for years if necessary. We will survive this." What she didn't say, what she couldn't say, was that the shelters might become tombs if the Titans failed. The Council fleet had weapons that could crack a planet's crust. If Earth fell, the shelters would simply be buried coffins. "We will not surrender," Sarah continued. "We will not beg for mercy from those who would enslave us. Humanity has survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and the cold void of space itself. We will survive this too. Stay strong, stay together, and remember, we are Earth, we do not break." Across the planet, the evacuation began. Billions of people moved into the massive underground cities that humanity had been building in secret for decades. Everything they owned, everything they cherished, had to fit in what they could carry. Families held each other tight as they descended into the Earth, not knowing if they would ever see the sun again. In orbit around Earth, the last defense platforms activated. They were old, outdated compared to Council technology. But they would fight. Every ship that couldn't make it to the underground docks was armed and crewed by volunteers. They would be the first to die when the Council arrived. Admiral Keiko Chen brought her battered fleet home to Earth. 47 ships lost at New Sarajevo, and the rest damaged but operational. It wasn't enough to stop 700 Council warships, but they would try anyway. "Deploy the fleet in defensive formation around Earth," she ordered. "Every ship, every platform, every weapon we have. If they want our homeworld, they'll have to take it over our corpses." Meanwhile, Elena Vasquez remained a prisoner aboard the Zanari flagship as it joined the Council armada. Her captors had stopped torturing her, but only because they wanted her healthy enough to witness Earth's destruction. They had moved her to a better cell, one with a large viewport so she could watch the armada assemble. It was a terrible and beautiful sight. 700 warships, each one representing the pinnacle of its species' technology. Zanari crystalline vessels that could refract energy weapons, Kresh bioships grown from living matter, Arcani plasma carriers that could melt continents, Velcora dreadnoughts with armor that could withstand nuclear fire. Against this, Earth had perhaps 100 operational ships and some aging defense platforms. The Zanari interrogator visited her cell one last time. "Soon, human. Soon you will watch your homeworld die. I almost pity you." Elena looked at the alien with calm eyes. "You still don't understand, do you?" "Understand what? Why we're so confident? Why we don't beg for mercy?" The Zanari's harmonious voice carried amusement, desperate bravado, a primitive species facing its end pretending at courage. "Keep thinking that," Elena said, "right up until reality hits you." The Zanari left and Elena returned to watching the armada. She didn't know exactly when the Titans would arrive, but she knew they were coming. Admiral Okonkwo wouldn't abandon Earth. The only question was whether they would arrive in time. The Council armada departed for Earth, a journey that would take 3 weeks. They traveled in perfect formation, an unstoppable tide of destruction. On the flagship, a Zanari admiral named Crystallis commanded the combined fleet with absolute confidence. "Humans," Crystallis mused to his second-in-command, "such a disappointing species. They had potential once before we corrected them. Now they are merely a problem to be solved. Should we offer them surrender terms?" the second-in-command asked. "No, the Council has decided. Complete extermination. We cannot risk them spreading their violence to other species." "What about their colonies?" "After Earth falls, we will hunt them down one by one. Within a year, humanity will be extinct, and the galaxy will be safer for it." Crystallis had no idea how wrong he was. On Earth, the final preparations were complete. The surface was empty, a ghost world of abandoned cities and silent streets. Below ground, 8 billion people waited in fear and hope. Sarah Chen stood in the command bunker, watching the clock count down. 19 days, General Yates said. "That's when the Titans arrive. And the Council fleet? 21 days. We'll have maybe 48 hours to prepare after the Titans get here." Sarah nodded. "That will have to be enough." Admiral Chen, are our forces ready? Keiko Chen's face appeared on the display from her flagship. As ready as we'll ever be, Madam President. We've deployed everything in optimal defensive positions. When the Council arrives, we'll make them pay for every meter of space. How long can we hold? Chen was silent for a moment. Against 700 ships? Maybe an hour, 2 if we're lucky and they're cautious. Then we pray the Titans can do what we designed them to do. The days crawled by with agonizing slowness. On Earth, people tried to maintain normal life underground, but fear hung over everything like a shroud. Parents held their children tight. Lovers made promises they might not live to keep. And everyone waited for news from the surface. The Council Armada drew closer, an unstoppable force that would arrive in days. Long-range sensors tracked its progress, counting down the hours until Earth's final battle. And then, with 3 days remaining until the Council's arrival, something impossible happened. Deep space sensors at the edge of the Sol system detected a gravity anomaly beyond Neptune. The readings were wrong, impossible. Space itself was tearing open and something massive was emerging. In the command bunker, alarms blared. "Madam President," a sensor officer shouted. "We have fold space emergence at the outer system." Sarah's heart leaped. "The Titans?" "Yes, ma'am." Reading 3 massive objects emerging from fold space. Gravity signatures match Prometheus, Defiance, and Reckoning. "They're here!" The bunker erupted in cheers. Against all odds, humanity's secret weapons had arrived ahead of schedule. The Titans were home. Admiral Okonkwo stood on the bridge of Prometheus as his ship completed its emergence from fold space. The journey through folded dimensions had been harrowing, but they had made it. Through the viewport he could see Earth, beautiful and blue and home. "All systems report green," his operations officer said. "Defiance and Reckoning have also emerged successfully. All 3 Titans are operational. Scan for the Council fleet," Okonkwo ordered. "No contacts in system, sir. We beat them here." Okonkwo allowed himself a moment of relief before getting back to business. "Open a channel to Earth." President Sarah Chen's face appeared on his screen and he could see tears of joy on her cheeks. "Admiral Okonkwo, welcome home." "Madam President, we're a bit early." Sarah laughed, a sound of pure relief. "Best news I've heard in weeks. How long until you're ready for battle?" "The Titans are ready now," Okonkwo replied. "But we'll need to coordinate with Admiral Chen's fleet. We've got maybe 3 days before the Council arrives and we need to make every second count." Over the next 72 hours, the Sol system transformed into a fortress. The 3 Titans took up positions around Earth, forming a defensive triangle. Each Titan was a small moon, bristling with weapons that humanity had spent 2 centuries developing. Gravity drives that could create localized black holes, mass drivers that could accelerate asteroids to relativistic speeds, energy weapons that drew power from the Titan's planetary cores. And each Titan housed 1 billion people in its vast interior. They were not just weapons. They were arcs designed to preserve humanity even if Earth fell. Admiral Chen's conventional fleet deployed around the Titans, ready to provide support. They were small compared to the massive planetary fortresses, but they would fight alongside them. On the 3rd day, as Earth held its breath, the Council Armada arrived. 700 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Admiral Crystallis stood on the bridge of his flagship, ready to witness humanity's end. "Begin scanning for human fleet positions," he ordered. "Prepare to engage and destroy all resistance." The sensors came back with readings that made no sense. "Admiral, we're detecting massive gravity anomalies near Earth. The readings are wrong. We're showing objects the size of small moons, but that's impossible." "Explain," Crystallis demanded. "Sir, the sensors are saying there are 3 objects, each roughly 2,000 kilometers in diameter, in orbit around Earth. But our databases have no record of such objects. Earth has only 1 moon, and these are..." The sensor officer's voice trailed off as the visual feed came through. On the main display, the 3 Titans appeared in all their terrible glory. Massive spheres of rock and metal, their surfaces covered in weapon emplacements, their cores glowing with the power of contained stars. "What are those?" Crystallis whispered. Before anyone could answer, a transmission came through on all frequencies. Admiral Okonkwo's face appeared, broadcast from Prometheus to every ship in the system. "Council fleet," Okonkwo said, his voice calm and certain. "You came to our home to commit genocide. You thought humanity was weak, broken, helpless. You were wrong about all of it. He gestured to the viewports behind him where Earth hung in space defended by its guardian titans. For 3 centuries you kept us on a leash. You limited our expansion, controlled our technology, treated us like children who couldn't be trusted. So we did what humans do best. We adapted, we prepared, and we built in secret. Okonkwo's expression hardened. These are the titans. Humanity's answer to your oppression. Each one carries weapons that can shatter dreadnoughts, shields that can withstand planet killers, and the will to defend our species to the last breath. He leaned forward, his eyes burning with righteous fury. You wanted to exterminate us. Instead, let us show you what humanity becomes when you push us to the edge. Let us show you why you should have left us alone. The transmission ended, and in the terrible silence that followed, the 3 titans began to move, their gravity drives bending space itself as they advanced toward the Council fleet. The Battle of Sol was about to begin. Admiral Crystallis stared at the 3 titans with growing horror. His crystalline body, normally stable and controlled, flickered with patterns that betrayed his shock. Around him, the bridge crew of the Zinari flagship struggled to make sense of what their sensors were telling them. Analysis, Crystallis demanded. What are we facing? The tactical officer's harmonious voice trembled. Admiral, each object mass is approximately 1/10 that of Earth's moon. They're weaponized dwarf planets heavily modified with drives and weapon systems. The energy readings they're off our scale, sir. How is this possible? We have monitored human space for 3 centuries. These objects were not built in human space, the science officer reported. The composition includes elements from the galactic fringe, sectors we marked as uninhabitable. They must have been constructing these for generations, Crystallis finished. His mind reeled at the implications. While the Council had been congratulating themselves on containing humanity, the humans had been building weapons in secret. For 200 years or more, they had planned and prepared for this moment. All ships battle formation Gamma, Crystallis ordered. Concentrate fire on the nearest Titan. We destroy them one at a time. The Council Armada, 700 ships strong, moved into attack position. It was an awesome sight. The combined might of galactic civilization arrayed against 3 human vessels, no matter how large. On Prometheus, Admiral Okonkwo watched the Council fleet maneuver. They're forming up for a concentrated assault. They'll try to overwhelm us with numbers. Should we retreat to defensive positions around Earth? His tactical officer asked. No, Okonkwo said. We advance. Show them what the Titans can do. He opened channels to all 3 Titans. Defiance, Reckoning, this is Prometheus. Execute attack pattern Alpha. Let's give them a proper welcome. The 3 Titans accelerated, their gravity drives creating visible distortions in space itself. Stars seemed to bend around them as they moved, reality warping in their wake. The Council fleet opened fire first. Hundreds of energy weapons, plasma cannons, and missile batteries unleashed hell upon Prometheus. The barrage was enough to vaporize a continent, enough to crack a planet's crust. The Titan's shields absorbed it all. Shields at 97%. Prometheus's defensive officer reported. Negligible damage, Okonkwo allowed himself a grim smile. Return fire. All batteries, Prometheus responded with fury. Thousands of weapon ports opened across its massive hull, and devastation poured forth. Mass drivers launched asteroids accelerated to near-light speed. Energy weapons drew power from the Titan's planetary core. And the gravity cannons, humanity's most terrible invention, activated. A Kresh bioship, 300 meters of living tissue and organic weapons, simply ceased to exist as a gravity cannon created a localized black hole inside it. The micro-singularity lasted only a fraction of a second, but it was enough. The ship imploded, crushed into a space smaller than an atom before the singularity evaporated. 30 more Council ships died in the first salvo. Prometheus alone had destroyed more vessels in seconds than the entire battle at New Sarajevo had claimed. Defiance and Reckoning. Engage at will, Okonkwo commanded. The other 2 Titans opened fire, and the Council fleet began to understand the nightmare they faced. These weren't just large ships. They were mobile fortresses, planet killers, weapons that should not exist. An Arcani plasma carrier tried to close distance with Defiance, planning to use its devastating short-range weapons. Defiance's gravity drive created a repulsion field, and the Arcani ship found itself pushed away, unable to advance. As it struggled against the gravity well, Defiance's mass drivers spoke. Chunks of iron the size of buildings, accelerated to relativistic speeds, tore through the Arcani ship like it was made of paper. Reckoning faced a group of Zanari vessels trying to use their crystalline hulls to refract the Titan's energy weapons. The humans had anticipated this. Reckoning deployed kinetic weapons instead, simple rocks moving at impossible speeds. The crystalline ships shattered like glass under the bombardment. Admiral Crystallis watched his fleet die and felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. All ships, scatter formation. Don't let them target you in groups. But scattering only made it worse. The Titans split their fire, each one tracking dozens of targets simultaneously. Their weapons were too fast, too powerful, too numerous, and their shields seemed impenetrable. Focus all fire on one Titan, Crystallis ordered desperately. Every ship target Prometheus. We have to break through those shields. 200 Council ships concentrated their fire on Prometheus. The barrage was apocalyptic, enough energy to sterilize Earth a dozen times over. The Titan's shields flared brilliant white, and for a moment it seemed like they might fail. Shields at 48%, Prometheus's defensive officer reported. They're finding our frequency. Rotate shield harmonics, Okonkwo ordered calmly. And activate the gravity well. Prometheus's main gravity drive engaged at full power. Suddenly, the 200 ships firing on it found themselves being pulled toward the Titan by an artificial gravity field. Their engines strained to maintain position, and their formations dissolved into chaos. Now, Okonkwo said, fire everything. At point-blank range, Prometheus unleashed its full arsenal. The Council ships, struggling against the gravity well, couldn't maneuver or escape. They died by the dozens, torn apart by weapons that humanity had spent 2 centuries perfecting. In 90 seconds, Prometheus destroyed 100 Council ships. Aboard the Zanari flagship, Crystallis realized the terrible truth. They were going to lose. The Council Armada, the largest fleet assembled in 10,000 years, was being destroyed by 3 human vessels. Retreat, he ordered. All ships retreat to jump distance? But the Titans weren't done. Reckoning moved to intercept the fleeing ships, its gravity drive creating a field that prevented faster-than-light jumps. Ships that tried to engage their FTL drives found their engines tearing themselves apart as they fought against the Titan's gravitational interference. Admiral Chen's conventional human fleet, which had been holding back, now entered the battle. They were small compared to the Titans, but they attacked with the same ferocity they had shown at New Sarajevo. Kamikaze drones swarmed damaged Council ships. AI-guided missiles sought out vulnerable systems. The humans fought with a coordination and ruthlessness that terrified the Council forces. On the Zanari flagship, Elena Vasquez watched the battle through her cell viewport with fierce satisfaction. Her captors had wanted her to witness Earth's destruction. Instead, she was watching the Council fleet die. The Zanari interrogator entered her cell, its crystalline body flickering with patterns of distress. This is impossible. How did you hide this from us? Elena stood, her injuries forgotten in the rush of victory. Because you underestimated us. You thought we were primitives, easy to control, easy to predict. You never imagined we could build something like the Titans. Where? Where did you build them? Does it matter now? Elena asked. You're losing. Your fleet is dying, and when this is over, the galaxy will know that humanity is not to be trifled with. The ship shuddered as a nearby explosion rocked it. The Zanari looked at Elena with something like desperation. We could destroy Earth.
One ship could get through, crack the planet.
Try it, Elena said coldly. See what happens when you threaten our homeworld with 3 Titans watching. The Zanari fled the cell, leaving Elena alone. She pressed against the viewport, watching Prometheus destroy another cluster of Council ships. The Titan moved with impossible grace for something so massive, its weapons firing in perfect synchronization. Admiral Okonkwo coordinated the battle from Prometheus's bridge. Status report. 407 Council ships destroyed, the tactical officer reported. Enemy forces are in full retreat. Remaining ships are attempting to reach jump distance. Let them go, Okonkwo ordered. But not all of them. Target their flagships. I want the Council leadership to make it home and tell everyone what happened here. Defiance and Reckoning moved to cut off escape routes, but they allowed some ships to flee. The Zanari flagship, with Elena still aboard, was one of them. Crystallis, his pride shattered, ordered the retreat. The remaining Council ships, less than 300 now, jumped to faster-than-light speed and fled the Sol system. They left behind the wreckage of 400 vessels, the debris of the largest military defeat in galactic history. As the last council ship vanished, the human fleet erupted in cheers. They had done it. Against impossible odds, Earth had survived. On Prometheus, Okonkwo allowed himself a moment of relief before addressing his crew. Well done, everyone. But stay alert. This was just the first battle. The council will regroup and they'll come at us differently next time. He opened a channel to Earth. President Sarah Chen appeared on screen, tears streaming down her face. Admiral, you did it. You saved Earth. We all did, Madam President. Every human who kept the secret, who built the Titans, who fought today. This victory belongs to all of us. And what now? Sarah asked. Now we change the galaxy, Okonkwo replied. We've proven we can defend ourselves, but we need to make sure the Council never threatens us again. It's time to dictate terms. Across human space, the news spread like wildfire. The Battle of Sol became instant legend. Humanity, the species everyone thought was broken and helpless, had revealed weapons that could challenge the entire Galactic Council. In the underground cities of Earth, 8 billion people celebrated. They emerged from their shelters to see the sky again, to see their 3 guardian Titans orbiting overhead. Children pointed up at the massive spheres and knew they were safe. On New Sarajevo, Governor Martinez watched the news with tears of joy. His colony was free, truly free, and the creche would never threaten them again. And across the galaxy, every species that had ever been bullied by the Council, every civilization that had been told they were lesser, looked at humanity's victory and felt hope stir in their hearts. The Zanari flagship limped back to Council space, its crew traumatized and defeated. Admiral Crystallis sat in his command chamber, his crystalline body dim and flickering. He would have to report this disaster to the Council, would have to explain how 700 ships had been defeated by 3. Elena Vasquez was brought before him one last time. She stood straight despite her injuries, her eyes defiant. You were right, Crystallis said quietly. We didn't understand. We thought we knew everything about humanity. We were wrong. Yes, you were, Elena agreed. What will you do now? Destroy us? Conquer the galaxy? Elena shook her head. We never wanted to conquer anyone. We just wanted to be free. You forced this war upon us. You tried to exterminate us. We defended ourselves. That's all. The Council will never accept human dominance. Then the Council needs to learn to accept us as equals, Elena said. Because we're not going away, and we're not going back into our cage. Crystallis was silent for a long moment. Then he made a decision that would have been unthinkable days ago. I'm releasing you. Take a shuttle, return to your people. Elena was surprised. Why? Because someone needs to speak for humanity when the Council reconvenes. And someone needs to tell them what I saw here. A species that doesn't want to rule but will fight to the death for freedom. Maybe that message will prevent the next war. Elena nodded slowly. Maybe it will. She took the shuttle and departed for Earth, leaving Crystallis to face the Council with news that would shake galactic civilization to its core. On Prometheus, Admiral Okonkwo stood at the viewport looking down at Earth. They had won the battle, but he knew the war was far from over. The Council would have to respond to this defeat, and their response would determine the future of humanity and the entire galaxy. But for now, Earth was safe. The Titans stood guard, massive and terrible and beautiful. Humanity had revealed its hidden strength, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again. The age of humanity had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. The Galactic Council chamber had never seen such chaos. Representatives from every species shouted accusations, demanded explanations, and argued about what had happened at Sol. The holographic displays showed the aftermath of the battle again and again. 400 warships destroyed. The pride of galactic civilization shattered by 3 human vessels that shouldn't exist. Admiral Crystallis stood before the Council, his crystalline body dim with shame. He had led the largest fleet in 10,000 years, and he had been defeated, humiliated. The other representatives looked at him with contempt and fear in equal measure. Explain, the Zanari High Chancellor demanded, her harmonious voice sharp with anger. How did this happen? Crystallis's report was clinical, factual. The humans deployed 3 weaponized dwarf planets, each approximately 2,000 kilometers in diameter. They call them Titans. The weapons technology exceeds our own in several categories: gravity manipulation, Kinetic weapons at relativistic speeds, shield technology that resisted our combined firepower, and their coordination was perfect, faster than should be possible. Where did they build these titans? The Kresh representative asked, its mandibles clicking nervously. Based on material analysis of debris we collected, the construction site was in the galactic fringe. Sectors we marked as uninhabitable. They've been building in secret for at least 2 centuries, possibly longer. The chamber erupted again. 200 years. While the council thought they were containing humanity, keeping them weak and controlled, the humans had been preparing, playing the long game, pretending to be broken while building weapons that could destroy the council itself. Senator Thraxus of the Velcora rose from his seat, his massive stone body grinding with movement. I warned you. I told you that suppressing humanity would lead to this. A species pushed to the edge will either die or become dangerous. The humans chose to become dangerous. They must be destroyed. The Arcani representative shrieked. We cannot allow this threat to exist. With what? Thraxus asked calmly. We just lost 400 ships trying to destroy them. They have proven they can defend themselves. How many more ships will you throw away? How many more lives? We could mobilize every vessel in council space, the Kresh suggested. Thousands of ships. Even the Titans cannot stand against that, can't they? Thraxus gestured to the holographic display. Look at the battle data. 3 Titans destroyed 400 ships while taking minimal damage. Their shields adapted to our weapons. Their tactics countered everything we tried, and they fought from defensive positions around their homeworld, which means they weren't even trying to win. They were just trying to make us leave. He let that sink in before continuing. What happens when they decide to attack? What happens when those Titans appear in our space around our worlds? Can any of us truly defend against weapons like that? The chamber fell silent. It was a terrifying thought. The Titans appearing in Zenari space or Kresh territory or any of the council worlds. They had seen what those weapons could do. There must be a response, the Zenari High Chancellor insisted. We cannot appear weak. Then let the response be wisdom instead of pride, Thraxus said. Open negotiations with humanity. Recognize them as equals. Give them the freedom they've been fighting for. Because the alternative is more war, and I do not believe we will win it. Never, the Kresh representative shouted. Humans are primitives. They cannot be trusted with such power. They already have the power, Thraxus pointed out. The question is what we do about it. The debate raged for hours, but no consensus emerged. The council was paralyzed, split between those who wanted revenge and those who recognized the new reality. Finally, they agreed on one thing. Send an emissary to Earth to hear humanity's demands. Senator Thraxus volunteered for the mission. He would go to Sol, speak with the humans, and try to find a path that didn't lead to galactic war. On Earth, President Sarah Chen stood in the restored government building in Geneva, no longer hidden underground. The evacuation was over. Humanity had returned to the surface, and they had done so as victors. Through the windows, she could see one of the Titans in orbit, Prometheus hanging in the sky like a second moon. Madam President, her aide announced, the Galactic Council has sent an emissary. Senator Thraxus of the Velcora requests permission to land and negotiate. Sarah nodded. Grant permission. But the meeting will be here on Earth on our terms, and make sure Admiral Okonkwo and Elena Vasquez are present. 3 days later, Senator Thraxus descended to Earth aboard a small diplomatic shuttle. The ancient Velcora had lived for thousands of years and seen the rise and fall of civilizations. But he had never seen anything quite like the Titans. As his shuttle passed Prometheus on approach to Earth, he marveled at the sheer scale of human ambition and ingenuity. The meeting took place in Geneva's historic assembly hall. Sarah Chen sat at the head of the table, with Admiral Okonkwo on her right and Elena Vasquez on her left. Elena's injuries had healed, and she wore her Navy uniform with pride. Across from them, Senator Thraxus settled his massive stone body into a reinforced chair. Senator, Sarah began, you're one of the few council members who voted against the Kresh claim on New Sarajevo. You've been fair to humanity, so I'll be direct with you. What does the council want? Thraxus's grinding voice carried a note of respect. The council is divided. Some want to continue the war until humanity is destroyed. Others recognize that such a war would devastate both sides. I represent a third option, peace but on new terms. What terms? Okonkwo asked. Full membership in the Galactic Council, equal representation, access to all jump gates and trade routes. recognition of human sovereignty over all current colonies and any future expansion within designated sectors. Sarah exchanged glances with her advisors. That's more than we expected. The Council has learned a painful lesson, Thraxis said. Oppression breeds resistance. You humans spent 2 centuries preparing to defend yourselves because we gave you no other choice. Had we treated you as equals from the beginning, the Titans might never have been built. The Titans were built from necessity, Elena said. But now that they exist, they change everything. The Council can't put this genie back in the bottle. No, Thraxis agreed, which is why we must adapt. The Council's power has always come from technological superiority. You humans have proven you can match us, even exceed us in some areas. The old order is broken. We need a new one. Sarah leaned forward. Here are our terms, Senator. Full Council membership, as you suggested, but also immediate release of all humans held in creche labor programs, reparations for 3 centuries of suppression, to be paid in technology sharing and resources, and a complete restructuring of Council governance to prevent any species from being treated as we were. The Council will never agree to reparations, Thraxis warned. Then there will be war, Okonkwo said flatly, and the Titans will visit every Council world until they do agree. We're done being the galaxy's punching bag. Thraxis was quiet for a long moment, his ancient mind processing the situation. You've changed, he observed. 3 centuries ago, humans were explorers, scientists, dreamers. Now you're warriors. You made us warriors, Sarah replied. You spent 300 years teaching us that the galaxy respects only strength. Well, we learned that lesson very well. Too well, perhaps, Thraxis said. I see in your eyes the same hardness I've seen in other species who gained power through suffering. The oppressed often become oppressors when they gain strength. Will humanity fall into that pattern? It was a fair question, and it cut to the heart of Sarah's fears. She had spent sleepless nights wondering the same thing. Would humanity, with the power of the Titans, become the very thing they had fought against? That's up to us, she said finally. We built the Titans to survive, not to conquer, but we won't be pushed around anymore. The Council needs to decide if they want us as equals and potential allies or as enemies they can't defeat. Thraxis stood, his massive body grinding as it moved. I will take your terms to the Council, but I must warn you, there will be resistance. Some species will try to sabotage any peace agreement. And there are other concerns. What other concerns? Elena asked. Thraxis hesitated as if debating how much to reveal. The Titans. Where did you get the gravity drive technology? It's far beyond anything in Council databases. Okonkwo and Sarah exchanged a look. They had known this question would come eventually. We found it, Okonkwo admitted. In the Tartarus cluster there are ruins. Ancient structures older than any civilization in the Council. The gravity drive technology came from those ruins. We reverse-engineered it. Thraxis's stone body seemed to shudder. Ancient ruins with technology superior to ours. This is troubling. Why? Sarah asked. Because, Thraxis said slowly, those ruins suggest someone else built planet-sized weapons long before you did. Someone powerful enough to create technology that still functions after millennia. And if they left such weapons behind, what happened to them? Elena finished the thought. Exactly. What destroyed a civilization powerful enough to build such things? And is that threat still out there? The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Titans, humanity's greatest achievement, might be nothing more than crude copies of weapons built by a vanished civilization, and somewhere in the galaxy the force that had destroyed that civilization might still exist. We found something else, Okonkwo said quietly. 2 months ago, a deep space probe detected another structure. Bigger than the Titans. Much bigger. We haven't investigated it yet. You must, Thraxis urged. And the Council must know about this. If there is a threat that destroyed the Ancients, it could threaten all of us. Sarah made a decision. Then we'll share what we found, but only if the Council agrees to our terms. Humanity will join the Council as equals, and together we'll investigate these ancient ruins. Maybe we'll find answers. Maybe we'll find threats. Either way, we face them together or not at all. Thraxis nodded slowly. I will present this to the Council, but I cannot guarantee their acceptance. Then tell them this, Sarah said, standing to look the ancient alien in the eye. Humanity is done asking for permission. We're taking our place in the galaxy whether the Council likes it or not. They can have us as allies or they can have us as enemies. But they cannot have us as subjects. Not anymore. Not ever again. Thraxus left Earth carrying humanity's ultimatum. As his shuttle departed, Sarah stood at the window watching Prometheus orbit overhead. The Titan represented 2 centuries of human determination, ingenuity, and sacrifice. But it also represented something else. The price of freedom. Do you think the Council will accept? Elena asked, joining her at the window. Some will, some won't. There will be more conflict, maybe more battles. But we've changed the equation. The galaxy has to deal with us now. And if we become what we fought against, if we use the Titans to bully other species the way we were bullied, Sarah turned to face her, then we'll have become the very thing we hated. That's the test, isn't it? We have the power now. The question is whether we have the wisdom to use it right. Over the following months, the galaxy transformed. The Council, after heated debates and several near conflicts, accepted humanity's terms. Not because they wanted to, but because the alternative was unthinkable. Humans were granted full Council membership, and the restructuring of galactic governance began. But not everyone accepted the new order. Extremist groups from several species launched terrorist attacks on human colonies. The Kresh, humiliated by their defeats, attempted a guerrilla campaign. Each attack was met with swift response from human forces, but Sarah insisted on restraint. The Titans were used defensively, not for revenge. We break the cycle, she told her military commanders. Yes, we could devastate the Kresh homeworld, but then we'd be no different from them. We respond proportionally, we defend ourselves, but we don't become conquerors. It was a hard line to walk. Many humans wanted revenge for 3 centuries of suppression, but Sarah held firm, and slowly the violence decreased. Meanwhile, humanity and the Council sent a joint expedition to investigate the ancient ruins in the Tartarus cluster. What they found was both amazing and terrifying. The structures were part of a vast network spanning the galactic fringe. Whoever built them had technology that made the Titans look primitive, and in the largest structure they found a warning. A message left by the ancient builders, translated after months of work. We built these weapons to defend against the darkness between stars. We failed. Flee while you can. The darkness between stars. No one knew what that meant. But long-range sensors began detecting anomalies at the galaxy's edge. Massive objects moving in the void between galaxies. Something was out there. Something that had destroyed a civilization far more advanced than the Council. A year after the Battle of Sol, Sarah Chen addressed the Galactic Council for the first time as an equal member. The chamber that had once looked down on humanity now listened to her words with respect born of fear and necessity. We face a common threat, she said, something that destroyed the ancients, something that may be coming for us. Humanity spent 2 centuries preparing to fight the Council. Now we propose something different, that we prepare together to fight whatever is coming. And if we refuse? The Kresh representative asked. Sarah's expression was hard. Then you face it alone. Humanity will defend itself and its allies. Those who remain our enemies. Well, the Titans will defend human space. The rest of the galaxy is your problem. Senator Thraxus rose to speak. Or, he said, we could choose wisdom over pride. The humans have proven they can build what we cannot. Their ingenuity, their determination, their refusal to accept limits. These are strengths the galaxy needs. I propose we not merely accept humanity as equals, but learn from them. It was a revolutionary idea. The elder species learning from the primitives. But the threat was real and the Council was desperate. The vote was called. For the first time in galactic history, the Council voted unanimously to form a true alliance, with humanity not just included but integral to galactic defense. Elena Vasquez, now humanity's official ambassador, stood beside Sarah as the vote was announced. We did it, she whispered. We're free. For now, Sarah replied. But there's something bigger coming. The ancients' warning was clear. We won our freedom just in time to face something worse than the Council ever was. On Prometheus, Admiral Okonkwo stood in the observation deck with Dr. Amara Okafor. They were looking at a holographic display showing the anomalies detected at the galaxy's edge. The objects were massive, larger than planets, and they were moving with purpose toward the galactic core. How long until they reach inhabited space? Okonkwo asked. Dr. Okafor ran the calculations again, hoping for different results. At their current speed? 15 years, maybe 20 if they slow down. And we have no idea what they are. The ancients called it darkness between stars. Whatever destroyed them is coming back. And James, the energy readings from those objects dwarf anything we've ever seen. The Titans would be like throwing pebbles at a mountain. Okonkwo nodded slowly. Then we have 15 years to prepare. Humanity has gotten very good at preparing in secret. Now we'll do it openly with the whole galaxy helping. You think we can build something to stop them? I think we have to try. Because the alternative is extinction. Not just for humans, but for every species in the galaxy. Down on Earth, in the hidden research facilities where the Titans had been designed, human engineers and council scientists worked together for the first time. The technology sharing had begun. Humans offered their gravity drive designs, their shield technology, their weapon systems. In return, the Council shared faster-than-light communications, advanced materials, energy systems humanity had never imagined. The combination was powerful. Within months, they had designs for new Titans, bigger and more advanced than the first three. Plans for a defensive network spanning the entire galaxy. Weapons that combined human ingenuity with alien technology in ways that neither could achieve alone. But it would take time they might not have. Sarah stood in her office looking at reports from across human space. The colonies were thriving now, expanding into sectors the Council had once forbidden. Trade was flowing freely. Human ships traveled the jump gates without restriction. After 3 centuries, humanity was finally free to reach for the stars. But the victory felt hollow. They had fought so hard for freedom, only to discover a threat that made the Council's oppression seem trivial by comparison. A chime announced a visitor. Elena entered carrying a data pad. "Madam President, you need to see this. It's from the expedition to the largest ancient structure." Sarah took the pad and read the report. Her eyes widened. They found ships? Intact ships from the ancient civilization? Partially intact. And Sarah, they're enormous. Each one is 10 times the size of our Titans. The technology is centuries beyond anything we have. Can we repair them? Use them? Elena shook her head. The damage is too extensive and we don't understand half the systems. But we can study them. Learn from them. The ancients fought against this darkness for a long time before they lost. They left us their weapons, their knowledge. Maybe they left us the key to survival. Sarah felt a spark of hope. How long to extract the useful technology? Dr. Okafor estimates 5 years for the basics, maybe 10 for the advanced systems. But Sarah, there's something else. In the ship's memory core, they found a partial star chart. It shows the darkness's last known position and its predicted path. And it's heading straight for the galactic core. Right through the Council's territory. Right through human space. There's no avoiding it. In 15 years, give or take, it will be here. Sarah set down the data pad and walked to her window. Prometheus hung in the sky, humanity's guardian and symbol of their freedom. 3 more Titans were under construction in secret shipyards. The Council was building its own defensive platforms. All across the galaxy, species that had been enemies were now working together to survive. 15 years, she said quietly. We've done a lot in less time. We built the Titans in secret while pretending to be broken. Now we'll build an even better defense and we'll do it together. Do you think we can win? Elena asked. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. I think humans have survived ice ages, plagues, asteroid impacts, and 3 centuries of galactic oppression. We've fought our way up from caves to starships, and now we have allies, technology, and time to prepare. If this darkness can be stopped, we'll find a way. She turned to face Elena. Because that's what humans do. We survive, we adapt, we overcome. The Council tried to break us and failed. Whatever this darkness is, it's about to learn the same lesson. Humanity doesn't surrender. Not to the Council. Not to fate. Not to anything. Elena smiled. You should tell that to the galaxy. They need to hear it. I will. Schedule an address to all Council species. It's time they understood what they've gained by making us their allies instead of their enemies. 3 days later, Sarah Chen stood before the combined governments of the Galactic Council. Her image was broadcast to every inhabited world, every space station, every ship. Trillions of beings across the galaxy watched as the human president addressed them. People of the galaxy, she began. A year ago, humanity revealed the Titans. We shocked you, frightened you, forced you to recognize our strength. Today I speak to you not as a conqueror, but as an ally facing a common threat. She gestured to the holographic display behind her, showing the approaching darkness. The ancient civilization that built the technology we've all benefited from left us a warning. Something is coming. something that destroyed them despite their advanced technology. In 15 years, it will reach our space. The display showed projections of the darkness's path, cutting through inhabited systems like a knife through flesh. We have two choices, Sarah continued. We can fight among ourselves, waste our resources on old grudges and ancient prejudices, or we can work together, combine our strengths, and face this threat as one galaxy united against extinction. She paused, letting her words sink in. Humanity spent 2 centuries preparing to defend ourselves against the Council. We built in secret, planned in shadows, and fought when we had no other choice. But that was survival born of oppression. Now we propose something greater. Not just survival, but victory. Not just for humans, but for all of us. The Council has superior numbers and resources. Humans have proven ingenuity and determination. The Velcora have ancient knowledge. The Zenari have crystal technology. The Arcani have energy systems. Every species has something to contribute. Together we are stronger than any threat. Her voice hardened with conviction. The darkness destroyed the ancients, but we are not them. We have something they might have lacked. Unity born of necessity. We have learned, painfully, that division makes us weak and cooperation makes us strong. The Council suppressed humanity for 3 centuries and created an enemy. Now we choose a different path. We choose to be allies. Sarah leaned forward, her eyes blazing with determination. We have 15 years to prepare. 15 years to build defenses, develop weapons, train forces. 15 years to prove that this galaxy, this collection of species that has fought and competed for millennia, can stand together when it matters most. Humanity stands ready to do its part. The Titans will defend not just human worlds, but all Council space. Our technology will be shared freely. Our engineers will work alongside yours. Our military will coordinate with yours. Because this is not humanity's fight or the Council's fight. This is the galaxy's fight. She straightened, her voice ringing with certainty. The darkness may think it faces a divided galaxy of primitive species. It will be wrong. It will face humanity. The Velcora, the Zenari, the Arcani, the Kresh, and every other species standing united. It will face the Titans and everything we build after them. It will face a galaxy that refused to surrender. Sarah's final words echoed across the stars. The ancients left us a warning, but they also left us their knowledge, their weapons, their legacy. We will honor that legacy not by fleeing, not by hiding, but by standing and fighting. And when the darkness arrives, it will learn what the Council learned at the Battle of Sol. That when you push intelligent species to the edge, you don't break them. You forge them into something stronger. This is our galaxy, and we will defend it. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, trillions of beings processed her words. Some felt fear, some felt hope. But all of them felt something they hadn't felt in a long time: unity. In the weeks that followed, the transformation accelerated. The Council's Joint Defense Initiative received unprecedented funding and cooperation. New shipyards opened on dozens of worlds. Scientists who had once competed now collaborated. Military forces that had been rivals began training together. And in the Tartarus cluster, where humanity had built its first Titans in secret, construction began on something new. Not just Titans, but a new class of vessel combining human, Velcora, Zenari, and Arcani technology. They would call them Guardians, and they would be the galaxy's shield against the darkness. Admiral Okonkwo oversaw the construction from Prometheus. The original 3 Titans would remain, symbols of humanity's journey from oppression to freedom. But the Guardians would represent something more: cooperation, unity, and the refusal to accept extinction. Elena Vasquez traveled the galaxy as humanity's ambassador, strengthening alliances and building bridges between species that had been enemies for centuries. She spoke at universities, military academies, and government chambers. Everywhere she went, she carried the same message. Together, they could survive anything. And in Earth's research facilities, Dr. Okafor and her team worked day and night to unlock the secrets of the ancient ships. Every breakthrough brought them closer to understanding how to fight the darkness. Every discovery gave them hope. Sarah Chen stood in her office 15 months after the Battle of Sol, looking at progress reports. 6 new Guardians under construction. Defense platforms in every major system. Joint training exercises involving a dozen species. Technology sharing at unprecedented levels. The galaxy was preparing. But was it enough? In 13.5 years, they would find out. Her communicator chimed. It was Admiral Okonkwo. Madam President, you should come to the Tartarus cluster. We've found something in the ancient ships. Something important. What is it? A message. From the ancients to whoever found their vessels. It's a battle plan. Instructions on how to fight the darkness. They knew they would lose, so they left us the information we'd need to win. Sarah felt tears spring to her eyes. The ancients, in their final days, had thought not of themselves, but of the species that would come after them. They had left weapons, knowledge, and now a strategy. They had given the future a chance. "I'm on my way," she said. "And James, make sure every species gets a copy of that battle plan. We're going to need everyone to follow it." "Already done. Sarah, we might actually survive this." "We will survive it," she replied with certainty, "because that's what intelligent species do. We survive." As she boarded the shuttle that would take her to the Tartarus cluster, Sarah looked back at Earth one last time. The planet that had birthed humanity, that had suffered under council oppression, that had been targeted for genocide, the planet that had refused to break. Prometheus hung in orbit, a reminder of what humans could achieve when they refused to accept limits. But soon the Guardians would join it, vessels built by a dozen species working together, symbols not of one species' strength but of galactic unity. The darkness was coming, but the galaxy would be ready. And when it arrived, it would face something the ancients had never achieved, a truly united front of species that had learned, finally, to see each other not as competitors, but as allies. Humanity had fought for freedom and won. Now they would fight for survival, not alone, but alongside the very species that had once oppressed them, and together, they would prove that the galaxy could defend itself against any threat, no matter how dark, no matter how ancient, no matter how powerful, because in the end, the greatest strength of intelligent species was not their weapons or their technology. It was their ability to overcome differences, work together, and refuse to surrender in the face of impossible odds. The age of the Titans had begun as one species' desperate bid for freedom. It would continue as the galaxy's united stand against extinction, and somewhere in the darkness between stars, something ancient and terrible continued its approach, unaware that the galaxy had changed, unaware that the species it was coming to destroy had learned to stand together. The final battle was still years away, but when it came, the darkness would face not a divided galaxy of frightened primitives, but a united civilization armed with ancient knowledge, modern technology, and the determination of species that had chosen survival over surrender. The warning had been heard, the legacy had been claimed, and the galaxy would be ready.